Last year, President Zuma said local government would go back to basics and monitor the performance on municipalities. What message should he be sending with this year's State of the Nation address? Well, we joined from our Cape Town studios this morning by Dr. Alain Tschudin, who is the Executive Director at Good Governance Africa. Al, good morning. Thank you very much for your time. I guess that's really it. I mean, every year the President outlines what's going to be new or a new approach regarding some of the challenges that the country is facing. Local government is really where we've seen a lot of service delivery issues, a lot of governance issues, and year in, year out, the Auditor General comes out with a report that says there's a lot of issues at the local government level. What should we be expecting the President to say this year?
Well, good morning, Dan. Thanks very much for having us. Look, you're absolutely right. We need to have a focus on local government. In fact, in a recent survey that we conducted, we found that by a narrow margin of around 44 to 42%, when we asked the South African people, 44% felt that local government was the most important level of government. So I think it's fundamental to get it right at that level. But in addition to that, I mean, it's all well and good for us to speak about economic development, and that's a major cluster within governance. But the burning question there revolves back to service delivery. We found this with respect to our ranking of all 234 local and metro municipalities. We found that service delivery is utmost on people's minds. We know that economic development and administration are also points of concern, but just very briefly to bring this to life for you, in a follow-on to the local government elections, we looked at a voter sentiment survey and we asked people what they thought would help. So if we're serious about saying that people shall govern, this is their response, which is quite telling. When we asked what would improve governance, 20.5% of our nationally representative sample, which comprised close on 2,300 people, said better service delivery. 10.8% said better economic development, 6.1% better administration, and a whopping 58.5% said all of the above. So look, if we look at these different clusters, as we've called them, service delivery here is key. Now, so that would be a starting point, I think, is to improve the delivery.
Yes, improving the delivery, and of course there's an issue there of lack of accountability as well that has come up. Do you think from that research then, if you get those kind of responses from the people on the ground, Al, do you think that the country needs a new plan for the country's municipalities? I mean, if you look at the ANC's own 12-point economic, what they call radical economic transformation plan, where you talk about local government, townships are mentioned, rural communities are mentioned, but only insofar as ensuring investment, economic development-wise. But I don't pick up a service delivery issue in the 12 points of the ANC that they want the government to focus on.
Well, that's quite right. I mean, you know, in 2015 we had a 9-point address at SONA. Now we've got the 12 points. This is starting to sound like the 12 tasks of Hercules. I think what's really important from what we've seen is the notion of restoring goodwill. And in order to do that, yes, we do see the townships mentioned and the upliftment of rural areas in here. But I think there needs to be a complete retake on what we think about the social fabric of society. And in order to do that, the government really will need to go back to basics. Just to build on that point, the whole idea behind SONA this year is to celebrate the centenary of O.R. Tambo. And, you know, what better point to start than looking at the place of his birth, in Mbazana, which on our GPI was the lowest ranking municipality. And when we speak to people in Mbazana, they talk about, you know, the basic challenge of obtaining water, so and other basic services. So I think, yeah, you're right. We need to start at a grassroots level and just listen to the people.
Now, very briefly, before I let you go, going back to basics for a place like Mbazana in the Eastern Cape, where O.R. Tambo was born, and the ANC is marking, as you said, the centenary of his birth, would include providing clean water services, would include providing electricity, would include providing basic housing, I guess, would include making sure that all these services that are needed, like health and stuff and education, are provided very efficiently as well, but also that there's good governance.
Look, absolutely. I mean, what we need to, we need to look at this well, the way we approach it is as a three-legged stool, if you like. So the administration needs to be in place. There needs to be proper and efficient, transparent and accountable administration. But in conjunction with that, we really do need to see economic development. I mean, it's no coincidence that the Eastern Cape, and especially what was known as Pondoland, is one of the most underdeveloped one of the most underdeveloped regions in the country. So I think it's about paying disproportionate attention, and rightly so, to those communities who need it most.
Thank you very much, Dr. Alain Tschudin, Executive Director at Good Governance Africa.